Patrick, Choi,
Hi.
welcome to Winning the Home Game.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks for driving all the way up here from the
Yeah,
South End today.
I think you're probably the only person that I would come to Seattle to see at this point, so I'm glad that I got to be
Well,
here. It really is an honor, so
we are honored, actually. I know
yeah.
that's not a fun drive sometimes with the traffic. So,
No, it's all good.
well, I'm gonna, first thing I want to say is how I met you because you were actually a listing agent on a property where my buyer was making an offer, and I remember talking to you. I don't know if you remember this, but you were grilling me like you're very protective over your seller, and like, is there financing in check? You actually asked other people about me,
Yeah,
which I thought was so cool because
yeah.
you're very protective. I mean, at the end of the day, you're there to protect your seller, and
Hmm.
so you were just like, "Rrr." And here we are today.
Yeah.
I get to work with you now
Hmm.
with your buyers, a lot of first-time home buyers and move-up buyers, and it's been an honor. It's just a joy.
No,
So
likewise.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're one of the most. You're well. First of all, you're very smart, and then on top of that, you really care for your people. I think that's
Thank you.
probably the best word I can describe you is you really care for them holistically. Even like actually one of the questions I'm going to ask you later is about what somebody does when they have another home and if they have to buy up. So we'll get into
Hmm.
that too. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start from the top. I have some great questions
Yeah.
for you today. So you've built your career guiding both first-time buyers and sellers in a competitive market. So what first got you into real estate?
Yeah, I was working a W-2 job. I was a sales manager for, quite a while.
And when was that?
That was probably from like 2010 to 2015.
Mm.
Yeah, so pretty much right out of college, I jumped into. Actually, I had always worked in sales, so I always had a
Mm.
retail background. I think that that's where I got to polish a lot of my communication skills.
Hmm.
But I tried to make the corporate jump. I wasn't successful at doing that. I had a lot of failed interviews, and I just realized that I didn't want to work for anybody else
You
ever
probably didn't want
again.
to do it because,
No, and to be honest, I think I can say it now. I think I had a chip on my shoulders too. I think
mm,
I felt like I should be doing something better or
mm,
something more. Not that there's anything wrong with having an honorable job, of course. But
yeah,
I think for me, it's just not. I always knew that that's not what I wanted to do with
right.
my life, and so I quit that job with nothing lined up.
Wow.
I cashed out my 401k. That's not good investment advice, but that's what I did just to survive for a little bit. I moved back home, and my buddy Jesse, who is my childhood friend, he was back on the upswing in his real estate career. If you know a little bit about Jesse, I think maybe some of these people do. During the recession, he lost everything,
Mm.
and he was back on the upswing. In 2015, I asked him about real estate and whether or not I can do this, and he gave me some encouragement, and I decided to go for it.
Wow. Just as
Yeah,
a great guy.
he is.
And your
Yeah,
partners today.
yeah. We're partners today.
Okay.
Pretty much, like I owe everything to Jesse. He
Mm,
he basically gave me a new life. So
right.
yeah,
He's a great guy, for
he
sure.
is. Yeah.
All right. So you've built Inspire Realty around the idea of a purpose-driven real estate. What does that mean to you in practice?
Yeah, I think that, property ownership is really at the cornerstone of living in a free society, I think. And
Hmm.
so I think that that philosophy really bleeds into everything that we do. And so I think on the brokerage side and what that means to our agents, it's giving our agents real autonomy over their real estate business.
Hmm.
I think that the traditional real estate brokerage model often comes far short in comparison to the promises that they give you or in comparison to what you have to pay them in huge splits. And so we would much rather say, you know what, we're going to charge as little as possible and let the agents decide where they want to spend their money.
Mm, I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And so my experience with you is that you'll sometimes advise clients not to sell their home, but to rent it out instead. And that's not something I see a lot. So what's your thought process behind that?
Yeah, they've worked so hard to build up that equity And I'm really lucky to have started real estate when I did because the growth that we've seen or the appreciation that we've seen over the last 10 years, it's really unprecedented.
Right.
You've been doing real estate even a lot longer than I have, and so I think that you could probably agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
And why throw that all away?
Right.
Property ownership is just such a huge part of building and growing wealth.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, owning that primary residence is a huge step. And if you even have that, you're already better off than most people in America by the time that you retire,
Mm-hmm.
if you could be smart enough to keep it, of course. But if you could do just a little bit better and hold that property, if you don't have to sell it, if you could have your cake and eat it too,
Mm-hmm.
maybe leverage some of that equity, but not all of it, and turn that into a rental property, I think people are going to be better off for it if they can manage it.
Right, and that would be maybe having a lower interest rate. Maybe they refinanced
Yeah.
and they have a low interest rate and now they can cash flow, or what is your thought process on the monthly payment versus rent?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely have to cash flow. You
Yeah,
can't keep
yeah.
negative cash flow
Right.
properties for sure. So this isn't going to be a strategy that is right for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And but at the very least, well, let me back up a little bit too, is that as a real estate broker, we're supposed to be again advocates for property ownership. And so I'd be a little bit hypocritical if my default solution to every single
Mm,
problem was to sell their house.
right.
And so this is where I want to, bring people over to you who are also incredibly smart and capable to help them make an informed decision on what they can or should do with their property. And I'll admit, for a lot of people, it doesn't pan out
Mm-hmm.
where they can keep the property. But for the few that
Mm-hmm.
can, I think it's well worth it.
Right. Yes, I love that. All right. So in your work, you focus on strategic planning and clear communication for buyers. What do you consider the most important conversations to have right at the start, at the home buying process?
Yeah, every single every single customer that I work with has to have a full consultation with me, and that's before I even send them to you or to
Mm-hmm.
another lender. Um, and I think that setting clear expectations on, well, number one, what they could expect from me as the real estate broker, but also what I expect from them as the customer. I can't care about buying a house more than them. And
Mm-hmm.
so we have to really be in true alignment on what they want and what they're trying to accomplish. It's a little bit less stressful today because the market
Mm-hmm.
has simmered down a little bit. But when the market was really hot, when every property was getting 15 plus offers, I mean, I remember putting an offer on a property that had 35 offers in Kirkland.
Wow.
And so when you're in that type of an environment, um, you really have to work with a team, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
work as a
Right.
team in order to get what they want.
I love that. You said such a great phrase. They have to, or could you repeat that? You have to worry about, you can't be more worried about them getting into
Yeah,
a home than they are. What does that really mean?
I can't care more than them.
Yes.
And
Okay.
so, especially in a competitive market, but, regardless of what the market
Mm-hmm.
is like, I can't want it more than them.
Mm,
At the end of the day, I'm also not paying their mortgage.
right.
And so I also tell every single customer that I will match whatever their level of intensity looks like.
Mm,
And so if they're going to be the person that wants to go out and look at houses every single day, that's fine. I love that because they're showing motivation. But at the same time, if this is something that they're going to put on the back burner,
mm-hmm.
then I'm also not going to chase them around,
Right.
right? I can't be the person who's, constantly feeding them listings without getting any type of
Right.
feedback.
That is
So,
major clear expectations. I
mhm,
love, I've never heard that before, so that's
yeah.
wonderful. All right. When you're crafting an offer in a multiple offer situation, what kinds of terms or strategies do you see work most often, especially for someone who wants to stay within budget and manage risk, which is not easy?
Yeah, let's see. Preparation is just so important. And that's where also the buyer consultation comes into play. And
Mhm.
so when the market is really competitive, and to be honest, even in today's market, the best properties are still getting multiple offers out there.
Mm,
And so when you have premeditated on a strategy and you've thought about not all, but at least some of the possible outcomes. And you're also mentally drawing a line in the sand and saying, hey, I'm not willing to pay any more than X, which I could also respect. When you've done all of that, you can go out into the market and make a quick and decisive decision without it feeling like a hasty decision. Now, coming back to really what your original question was, what are some of the terms that you want to layer in? Definitely talking to the right lenders, the first thing. And so one of the things that I really appreciated about you is that every single one of my clients were getting fully underwritten and loan approved before they even go shopping, which means that when I'm trying to create a narrative to the listing agent and letting them know that my client is strong and well qualified, I mean, I could really back it up now.
Right.
So I think that's number one. Number two is doing a pre-inspection. I never want a buyer to have buyer's remorse or get into something where they're going to have some regrets over this. And so when you think about the listing cycle, generally new listings hit on a Wednesday or a Thursday. We got to get in there on a Wednesday or Thursday or definitely before the weekend. And so if we need to go and do a pre-inspection, we have all weekend to do that and still be able to craft our offer. So when we put in that offer, we know that there's, no major issues with the property. And I would say lastly, being willing to cover an appraisal gap. And again, this is really when it's competitive. I'm seeing less and less of this happening today. But even if it's $20,000, I think makes a huge difference. And at the end of the day, we're really restructuring their loan in many cases. Like for example, if they're already putting $20,000 or $30,000 down, it's not necessarily that they have to put an extra $20,000 down,
Right.
but we'll perhaps shrink the down payment a little bit, keep the cash to close the same, and allow them to use those funds towards that appraisal gap. When you combine all of that together, even if you're competing against the cash offer in the market, you can be competitive, extremely competitive.
Right.
And there's been plenty of instances where we've beaten out a cash
Yes,
offer.
yes.
I mean, you once did a VA loan for me in 12 days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Actually, I can't remember if
Speed.
it was 12 days or 10 days, but you've done it.
Right. So quick terms.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain what a pre-inspection is versus making an offer contingent upon an inspection and why you would do that in a competitive situation?
Yeah, absolutely. So historically, when you submit an offer, you have an inspection clause. And so at the end of the day, this is your buyer's get out of jail free card. You don't even have to provide any type of reason for why you're backing out of that transaction. Now, when you're in a multiple offer situation, it's reasonable to expect that a seller is going to want to guarantee it. I mean, they have several options available. Now, one of the things that you can do as a buyer to make your offer stand out is to waive your inspection. That personally doesn't sit very well with me, though. Now, every person has to measure that risk. If a buyer wants to go and waive that inspection, they understand exactly what they're getting into. There's certainly nothing wrong with that. But inspecting that property before you even submit that offer now also demonstrates to the seller that you've got some real skin in the game. You're not just putting in an offer to put in an offer, you're pretty serious about this and you've got real skin in the game. So now we can waive the inspection without it feeling dangerous, right? And now that earnest money has some real weight to it as well.
I love that. Great. And then on our side, it's, waiving financing, which I explain to a lot of our clients because they ask us, what does waiving financing mean? And I just explained to the client, waiving financing basically means, seller, if my loan doesn't go through and I can't move forward, you can keep my earnest money deposit. So then I go over, are there any chances of you, getting laid off? Are you going to quit your job? And or do you own another property that you didn't tell us about that we can't find on your credit report? And if you can say no to those things, then you're safe waiving financing if you accept that risk.
Yeah,
So those are probably the two biggest contingencies.
totally. And even if you can't waive the financing, being willing to cover some portion of that appraisal gap, I
Right.
think also makes a huge
Totally.
difference. So,
Good point.
and all of that matters. And so because I also sell a lot of properties too on the listing side. And so really when you're trying to find the right buyer, there's a multitude of factors that you want to look for. And so it's not always about the highest price. In fact, I always tell even my sellers that the highest offer is not always the best offer. And when you're submitting an offer, it's also very rare that your offer is going to be selected with absolutely no changes to that offer. But if I could submit an offer where it at least gives me a seat at the negotiating table, that's what I want.
Right.
And so, in addition to coming to the table with a strong price, if you could have those terms, I've lost count how many times you and I have crafted an offer now where the listing agent said, "Hey, you didn't have the highest offer, but I can't ignore your offer either. Can you just match this other offer or just come up a little bit more?"
Wow.
And we'll give
Right.
it to your buyers.
Right.
And I have to give you credit as well because I couldn't do it without you either.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So would that be a clean offer when you, because I get that a lot. Well, Patrick sent over a clean offer. What does that mean exactly? A clean offer?
Yeah, probably an offer that has waived inspection for sure. And we waived the inspection, but in reality, we still conducted an inspection.
Right,
I would say the vast majority of my buyers are still doing that pre-inspection.
Right.
They don't want to go blind into that situation. I think that is generally the catalyst for what a clean offer looks like. In some markets, maybe Seattle and Bellevue, I think waiving financing becomes more and more important. I think if you're in the suburbs, Renton, down south, I think people rarely expect, waived financing, but definitely starting with waived inspection for sure.
Love that. Okay, so I'm going to ask a question about your property management company, if that's okay?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, awesome. So you now have a property management
Yeah.
company, and probably because you have so many doors that you're doing it anyway. But could you
Yeah.
talk about, why you did it, and what does it look
Mm-hmm.
like today, and what do you actually, what is your proposition for anybody who has a property and wants to use you as a property manager?
Yeah, it definitely came out of necessity. We were professionally managing, oh, I'm sorry, not professionally managing. We managed like about 70 of our own doors. And we just weren't happy with any of the property management offerings that were out there. And so we decided, I already have the correct license to have it in the state of Washington. A property management company is a real estate brokerage, so you have to be properly licensed and insured. Not a lot of people actually realize that. But that's how it started. We used ourselves as the guinea pig, and then eventually we started doing it professionally. Now we manage over 100 doors,
Wow.
which I'll admit a lot of them are still our own doors, but we are now doing it professionally for other people. As far as the value proposition is concerned, Jesse and I, we are real estate people. And so we treat every single property that we manage as if it were our own. I think so many property management companies simply just check the box, and it's just not good enough.
Right. Especially,
Not trying to get into politics, but it really matters here. In our state, we have statewide rent control now. City of Seattle has rent control now. Tacoma, and every city in our area is just a little bit different. You have to have such a robust lease agreement today, and you have to be so up to date on compliance because every tenant today is, if they are faced with an eviction, they have access to a free attorney with the Housing Justice Project. And so if you are not, fully committed to compliance, it is so easy for your eviction case to get thrown out and have to start over again.
wow.
And the average eviction can take anywhere between, depending on the city, 6 to 18 months.
Wow.
And that's enough to completely bury a property owner.
Right. Exactly. What, as far as the property management aspect, what do you find tenants for clients too, or do they have to come with their own tenant?
Absolutely.
Okay.
No, we're full service.
Okay.
So we do everything. So we go and find the tenants, screen the tenants, and we screen them as if we're screening our own tenants.
Love that.
So we're pretty strict about that. In fact, we kind of take a mortgage underwriter's approach
Nice.
to looking at credit and looking at income.
Right.
You probably know this. I don't know if the audience does, but Jesse has a background in mortgage.
Yes.
I know that it might not always look like it on the outside, but he's very savvy
He's
with
smart.
the numbers.
He's very smart.
Incredibly smart. And so
Creative too.
very creative. And so he brings a lot to the table in that realm. Yeah, so we do everything.
Everything.
I think another part that is extremely underrated, though, is the bookkeeping aspect of it. Because
Mm.
remember, we're managing income properties, and
Hmm.
especially when you get into bigger multifamily buildings, the value of that property is tied directly to the income that it produces.
That's
And
right.
if you don't have good books,
Right.
you are not going to be able to resell that property for max value.
Right.
So having a strong property management company that, again, is full service, but most importantly, handles the books for you,
Hmm.
super
Oh, that's
important.
great. Is this just for long-term tenants or is it also Airbnb?
Right now, it's just long
Okay.
term. We will occasionally accept a midterm,
Okay.
and right now, no short term.
Got it.
Yeah,
In the future, maybe?
it's possible. Short term is
It's a
just like
lot of work.
it's a completely different
Oh,
game.
yes.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
just don't think that we have the bandwidth to be able
Right.
to
Right.
handle that. We we have members on our team that have their own Airbnbs,
Mm.
but we're not yet professionally
Right.
managing any of those.
Okay. Well, you have to let us know if that
Yeah.
happens. Okay. Perfect. All right. So now we're going to a segment called Home Game Highlights. So if you could give one piece of advice to a first-time buyer, what would it be?
First piece of advice to a first time home buyer. Don't lose a house that you love over a couple lattes a month. You know, the for every what, like $10,000 you go up
Right.
in price, it only changes your monthly payment by I think $50 a month.
Right.
And so, again, I'll respect anybody who draws a line in the sand and says that they won't pay a penny more,
Mm-hmm.
but just do it.
Right. Do you think that's
Yeah.
ego involved too?
It could be because I
Mm.
think that, trying to hit that certain price
Right.
oftentimes is a dopamine rush. And so you
Mm.
have to ask
True.
yourselves, like, what's more important, getting that dopamine hit of feeling good that you maybe got a little bit of a deal? Or is it the house that you actually love and
Right.
you can raise your family or live here for many, many
Right.
years? And so you can't let the wanting to get a deal supersede your need to actually own a
Mm-hmm.
property.
I agree. I
Hmm.
agree. All right. The home stretch now. One money tip that you live by.
One money tip that I'm trying to live by is don't waste $10 to avoid paying the IRS $3.
Ooh, do explain.
Yeah, so I'm obviously a business owner,
Mm-hmm.
and I think a lot of first-time business owners fall into this trap of wanting to write off all of their income.
Okay.
And I just don't think that that's a great tax strategy.
Mm.
If you have to pay taxes, it's a good thing. It means that you made money.
Right.
And early on, unfortunately, I also fell into that trap, and I'm
Mm.
still paying some of the repercussions for that.
Mm.
But
Right.
um, but yeah, I think that don't be afraid of the IRS.
Right. And that's even if you're a broker too, working for a firm.
Totally.
Okay.
Yeah, because as a broker, you're an independent contractor. You're
Right.
not a W-2 employee.
Mm-hmm.
And so you really are a business owner
Mm-hmm.
as an independent agent.
Mm-hmm.
And so living by that same philosophy is definitely good business
Mm-hmm.
practice.
All right. So what's one must-have kitchen appliance household item that you can't live without these days? I know this can change depending upon
Yeah.
what's out there.
For me, I know exactly what it is. It's actually a second refrigerator.
Oh, that's a good
Yeah.
point.
Because almost every single house
Mhm.
now it's all counter depth refrigerators. You can't fit
Right.
anything in there. And so,
Right.
it's funny, like at my house, I have a second refrigerator and I have a second like oversized freezer.
You have
So
three,
I have
basically.
three, yeah.
Wow. So where are these in the house?
We have a room in our house called the backstock. What's so funny about this is that I'm actually prepared to get um, what is it? So we have like side by side laundry right now. I want to get a stackable just
Okay.
so I have room
More
for
room?
another refrigerator. So my wife and I, we do a lot of cooking, and so
Oh, I didn't know that. That's
yeah,
great. I
yeah. So
love
we do a
that.
lot of cooking, and so we definitely need all of that
Yeah,
space.
right. For the two girls too, right? They loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah. They must be spoiled with all the food. You guys, good food,
Yeah,
right?
I
Yeah.
would say mom does a better job
Yeah.
of that, but we do enjoy cooking
Yeah.
together, and we also make it a family thing, and so we love it when our daughter Yuna, our oldest daughter,
Mhm.
she also gets to be involved with the cooking. She's only 3, but she's learning and catching on
Oh,
quickly.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
great. If you can start them young, right?
Hmm.
All right. So for someone buying their first investment property, what are the key financial factors you tell them to focus on? Their very first one, whether that's if that's their
Yeah.
first purchase ever or it's their, first investment. property and they already have a primary?
Yeah, it always takes a lot longer than you think to stabilize a rental property. And so, maybe unless you bought it completely turnkey. But I think that's a mistake that I made, which was really underestimating how long it would take to honestly stabilize all of my rental properties. And so maybe I
Mm-hmm.
just, continue to make the same mistake over and over again. But, one thing that can help to really offset that is if you can get really good at making money, to be honest. And so when you think about investment, you should be investing when you have a surplus of income or a
Okay.
surplus of cash. And so if you're just getting by month to month, I would say it's more important to focus your time and energy on making more money.
Mm-hmm.
And once you've hit that threshold where you're feeling comfortable,
Mm-hmm.
then go and jump into that income property because you're going to have, things are going to break.
Right.
People are going to leave, people are going to go, people are going to stop paying rent,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, even after you've vetted them out. And so you want to be prepared for all of that. And so when that property is not earning an
Mm-hmm.
income, someone has to cover it.
Right.
And you don't want to get, buried by those bills.
I think that's great advice for
Hmm.
sure. All right. For someone who already owns their first home, what's the next logical step if they want to start building a rental property portfolio?
Yeah, I think that I think my answer for the first one probably still applies to the second question. I don't know if there's necessarily anything that I would do other than the fact that, well, you know what? Let me back up and say this. Um, every single time that I've lost money on an investment property is because I had FOMO about it.
Really?
Yeah, so I
Wow.
would say if I were giving that new person some additional advice, it's okay to take your time.
Okay.
Don't rush into it. I know that it's exciting when, cash is sitting in your bank account. It feels like it's burning a hole in your pocket. Um, don't let the FOMO take over. I promise you
Mm,
there will always be another opportunity to buy something else.
right.
Just make sure that it's the right property
Hmm.
and you've done some homework.
Right. Great advice. Who is the ideal buyer if they want to work with you on building their portfolio of investment properties?
The ideal person.
Someone who has a job.
Yeah, I mean, obviously someone who has a
Yeah.
job. So I would probably say I don't know if this is my ideal person, but this
Mhm.
is who I typically end up working with. It's someone who's probably mid 30s, mid 40s. They're somewhere midway into their careers now. At the very least, they're past the entry level point. And in addition to that, they've now come to realize that a W-2 job just isn't
Mhm.
guaranteed, right? And so, or that income just isn't guaranteed. And so, people who are serious about wanting to build some type of lasting legacy,
Mhm.
those are the people that I typically enjoy working with.
I love it. So looking at the long-term goal.
Yeah.
I love that. All right. Wonderful. So informative. You have so much
Yeah.
knowledge in all different lanes, as we've spoken about
Yeah.
before. You work with first-time home buyers, move-up buyers, and then investment properties. And then on top of that, some commercial because of more doors, right? More than 4 units.
I think technically more than 5 units.
Okay.
From a strictly a multifamily
Mm-hmm.
standpoint, yeah, we're in the, I
Mm-hmm.
guess, commercial game, but we
Right.
don't have like retail or warehouses or anything
Right.
like that though.
And
Just all
then
residential.
the other lane is now property management, which just
Yeah.
goes all in. It's just like all together, like a vertical
Yeah.
of great stuff that all combines together.
Hmm.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I
Anything else
think
coming up?
no, I think that's pretty
That's a
much,
lot.
yeah, I mean, it's certainly a lot. I mean, for me, it all falls under the umbrella of real estate. So it doesn't really necessarily feel like I'm,
Hmm.
wearing 10 different hats necessarily. But
Right.
I think that as I don't know, I feel silly saying real estate entrepreneur, but it's really trying to monetize every single aspect of
Right.
the transaction, I suppose.
I love that.
Hmm.
So if a buyer wants to get a hold of you or a seller wants to list their property with you, where can they find you? What's your Instagram?
Yeah, my Instagram is Project Patrick,
I love that.
and I just started a YouTube channel. It's more educational content on there, but my YouTube handle is X Patrick Choi, like letter X Patrick Choi, and that's where they can find me.
I love you. Your content's really great too, by
Thank
the way.
you.
Really good
Yeah.
stuff. Really informative. I learned too from that too.
You're one of the people that really pushed me to do it. So watching your content has given me some inspiration. So I really
Wonderful.
appreciate you as well.
Wonderful, thank you. And then if someone's a broker wants to make a move, more towards what you guys do, they can
Yeah.
find you there too as well.
Yeah, they could find us
Okay.
there. But if you're already a broker, you probably already know how to find me. And so
Right.
I'm happy to have a conversation with really anybody.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time
Yeah.
today.
Thank
You're
you
the
for having
best.
me.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.